Hey product people, welcome to the first event of 2026. I'm very happy to see you all and I hope you are doing great. And for those people who are first time with us, welcome. We're the only one product community in Armenia, I can say it proudly, and we are already 2.5 years old. For this year, we're planning 4 events in Yandex Hall. It's our first, and besides of this event, we will have different workshops, webinars with international speakers, career events, and so on. So follow us in social media and be with us in our Telegram chat. Today we will talk about how to build products for 100 millions of customers. Very interesting topic and very interesting speakers from Picsart. Narek Hayrapetyan, as you can see from this big screen. Narek is principal PM at Picsart, and I hope today will be very interesting. Narek Jan, stage is yours.
Thank you, Armenia, for introduction. Hello, everyone, and good evening. It's not Friday, but it's evening, past work. I hope you will go home with positive vibes, and we will brainstorm all together as a group. Thanks a lot to product people for organizing this, and Yandex Hall for hosting this event. And we are going to talk about the topic of building products for hundreds of millions of people. So let's start a little bit about myself. I'm a product manager at Picsart, been at the company for around 13 years now, so from the beginning. And so how it grew from a small startup into a global platform with over 150 million users monthly. And I started as an engineer, that's my primary background, and as the time went, we learned about this thing called product manager, and we turned into product managers without even having the title. Hopefully, this transition has been happening and will be happening for more and more people in engineering, in product, in design. So I would like to first understand the audience. So can you raise who are product managers in the group? All right, this is heavily a product manager oriented group. Do we have designers? Yeah, designers are here. Do we have engineers? Quite a lot of engineers. I'm happy to see that. And this is good because the world is changing so fast that you cannot just be like a single occupation and profession person for your whole life. That times have passed, the world is evolving very quickly and we need to learn and relearn new skills. So let's talk about products, and especially products that are built for, let's say, consumers, so wide masses, hundreds of millions of people. So the question starts with, what does 100 million people group want or need? It's a simple question. It doesn't have a simple answer because every person is different and their intentions are different. We could define like themes and outcomes that 100 million, 200 million people might want to achieve, but it would be very hard to define how exactly what that specific person achieved that outcome. So here's an example. Do you make Instagram stories? Raise hands. Who does create Instagram stories? Yeah, a lot of you. I think many of us. And if we take the outcome of, I want to create stunning Instagram stories to share my best life moments with my friends and followers, that would unite probably hundreds, 200s, and 300 millions of people around the world, all wanting to share their moments, their best moments of their life. Yet, if we dig deeper into these people, we understand that the way that people convey and tell stories differ from place to place, from age, from I don't know, culture, from background, from trends. It's evolving ever fast, and you cannot have a single recipe that would work for hundreds of millions of people. So one person might want to do like a selfie and do some touch up and face touch and then post it. The other person would like to do a more significant face retouch. One might prefer to do a vlog style story, and another person might want to do a wedding slideshow. So we don't know exactly what each of these people would want, but we can understand that they are sharing the same target outcome they are seeking for. And so today we are going to speak about segmentation. I know there are a lot of B2B enterprise companies in Armenia, so there are a lot of B2B enterprise product managers and a lot of knowledge around that. And I think that building for consumer base and wide masses is significantly different from building for enterprise and B2B by the process, by the number of customers, by their needs. And the key theme when you are building for wide masses is the fact that you cannot build one solution that fits all. So you need to do segmentation in a lot of spaces. So one of those spaces I call experience segmentation. So the product experience, the user experience. As we mentioned, different users with different technical knowledge, background, and willingness, and I don't know, whatever they like, they would have different ways of experiencing a product and building a story. So, for example, we could have one user that is building slideshows. So these slides are GIFs. They are not animating for some reason, but imagine that they are animating. And the first one is this slideshow where there are pictures of the family. It's all in a template, so the user didn't have to do anything. They just chose a template, chose their images, and got to the results. The second one is portraying a more vlog style video of the same day, of the same family gathering, where there's an editing, etc. And finally, the third one is like more advanced. It was created with some parts being adjusted with AI-generated content, and all of them are about a single story. But from what you can understand, the product experience that we would build for all of these different intentions would be different. So for the slideshow, we can build an experience where you just pick images, pick a template, get the result, and you don't go into the nitties and gritties of editing, learning those knowledges, etc. For the second type of user, they want to have control. So they need a timeline, they need some video editing tools, keyframe animations, titles, etc., to get to the aesthetic that they are envisioning. And finally, this third kind of storyteller is the new emerging type of storyteller. This person doesn't have patience and doesn't have time. They don't want to learn editing tools. They don't want to use these templates because it doesn't give them creative freedom. So what they want to do is they want to prompt and to get to the result with AI. And for this type of user, we would definitely not give a traditional video editor or a slideshow maker. We would rather give some AI tool with prompting abilities and models integrated. What's next? Price segmentation. If you're building for hundreds and millions of users, there's a high chance that these users are distributed across different countries. They have different levels of income. Therefore, you cannot find a single price and business model that would fit everyone. So here's an example of a subscription for different tiers. Let's say we define 3 tiers of countries, which are groups of countries that have, let's say, different GDPs or average income. So tier 1 would be the countries with the highest income and GDP per capita, like US, UK, Australia, New Zealand. Tier 2 would be the countries with a little bit less income, maybe like Europe countries and some countries in Asia, etc. And tier 3 will be the countries with lower income levels that still have the same needs as the tier 1 countries and the tier 2 countries. So whenever you and we at Picsart define the pricing and monetization strategy for these different segments, we understand that you cannot use the same way of monetizing. So for example, for tier 1, you could say the price is $20 a month and it's paid yearly. I think everyone has noticed lately, most of the softwares are subscription based and yearly billable. That's because it's easier to bill you yearly and retain for 12 months than to bill you monthly and then have the risk of you churning. But that's quite a large commitment of money. So $20 a month might not sound too big, but when you multiply it with 12 and you actually bill at the moment, that turns into like over $200 of value being paid at the moment. So this will work for tier 1, but there's a high chance it might not stick with tier 2 and tier 3 just being not affordable. So we're going to like second option, which we can call best value, or the thing that we have optimized for the tier 2. And for this, we are giving a little bit of discount, so $15 a month, again paid yearly, but we are allowing the users to pay monthly or yearly. So we are giving that flexibility for the user to choose whether they want to be billed monthly or yearly. Of course, the monthly payment would be higher when you accumulate it for the yearly payment amount, the sum, yet it's a bite-sized payment, so it doesn't break the bank as much as if you are being billed yearly. Finally, for the tier 3, we are building a package that's priced lower, like $10 a month, and we are giving free trial because it's important for us to give ability to everyone to be able to try the product to see if that provides them the value they were seeking for before they would commit any budget to it. So this is an example of a price segmentation. And as you can already get the theme, every time I'm adding a new type of segmentation, it adds a lot of operational complexity for the company. Next is the marketing segmentation. So we know if you're building a global company, there will be holidays and you need to do some campaigns in social media, in blogs, in YouTube, in email, everywhere to be relevant, to highlight the content, the templates, the design elements that are fitting this festive season or this holiday. And we understand that not everyone in the world are celebrating the same holidays. So this can differ based on the religion, based on the traditions, on history, historical days. And here is some example. Let's say if you were to promote a hair salon advertisement creation templates worldwide during the festive season, you would celebrate the July the 4th in the US, but wouldn't share that same content in other countries because it's irrelevant for them. Similarly, in India, you would be celebrating Diwali, as well as in Asia, you would be celebrating, let's say, Asian New Year. So these all holidays differ, and when you are working at a consumer product, you learn a lot about different cultures and their holidays, and you understand that there isn't a single solution that would work for everyone. And I can bring actually a good example of a life cycle marketing localization. So I think a lot of you in the group use Wildberries. Yes, it's very popular in Armenia. And what I've noticed is recently Wildberries has been segmenting their push notifications to be localized. So they are sending it in Armenian. The one thing that they don't get it right is they use a lot of word Armenia, Hayastan in their messages. So they're like, in Armenia, the sales are here, and it's all in Armenian. And when you're reading it, you can feel like there's something off, because when you are inside Armenia, you kind of never think about reading that some message is about the thing in Armenia because you are inside the system. So you can already feel that it was forced upon to be localized, but it wasn't thought well in terms of feeling local. So this is where you need to really go and understand different cultures and their behavioral patterns to be able to truly integrate your marketing materials into that culture, into that country. You know, the Chinese apps, I don't know if you have tried, they have a lot of buttons, like too many buttons. And Western apps like from US, Instagram, they are very minimalistic. And that ties to actually behavioral science, where the Western cultures perceive premium when it's minimalistic, like the fashion brands, their marketing, etc., while the Eastern cultures perceive the plentifulness as a sign of being premium. So that's why the users in China, in Asian countries, think that your product is more valuable if it has more in it, in the user experience, while the people in the Western countries want it to be seamless, minimalistic, just click and get the result. Don't think about it, don't see too many things. And as you will go deeper and deeper, if you try to build a consumer product for global audiences, you will learn more and more of these types of patterns. And hopefully, if you use them, the end user would really feel like they are being thought about and they would appreciate that experience. Which brings us to channel segmentation. I think at the moment in this reality, understanding your channels, if you're building a consumer product, and using them correctly and segmenting them correctly is actually more valuable than the actual product, building the product, the features themselves, because building products is becoming more and more attainable. I will not speak about AI much, but if you have questions, you will ask and I will answer about that. But in very short terms, AI is making the process of building products super easy. And if we look at the longer prospect, the value of businesses and products and services isn't going to be fully in the product itself, in the IP, in the code, but more in the channel. You heard about Hobby Lame, the guy from TikTok that does this. So the guy sold his personality, so his brand, personal IP, to a media company for $900 billion. And he gave them permission to create AI avatar versions of himself so that they can localize that avatar speaking in different languages and use as a marketing material. It might feel a little bit dystopian, but the fact that that persona's valuation of the channel is $900 million is already signaling us how important the channels and the different GTM strategies are becoming within the product creation lifecycle. And so we understand that the channels are very different based on different factors, but here I'm talking about, let's say, the generations. Gen Z, Gen Alpha, they are hanging out in TikTok. They are searching about credible information in Reddit because that's one of the last places where real humans are giving real advice without an SEO, AIO, a blog, a conversion target, and all the other goals that we are really not looking for when we are searching for information. But if you ask a Gen Xer, I highly doubt most of them would say, I'm searching for information in Reddit. They just Google it because that's the habit and they're keeping the habit. The Gen X like to hang out in Facebook. The Gen Z like to hang out in TikTok. And I think in general, everyone likes to hang out in Instagram, but that might be my perception. But it seems like it's the middle ground where the millennials and Gen Z are still there and the Gen X are slowly transitioning from Facebook to the Instagram. So you need to understand that these different channels are for different types of users. And whenever you're building your social media strategy, you need to segment the way you create content on each of these platforms. So here is a good example of what not to do. If you are a premium brand and you are going to make this uber exquisite slow-mo motion aesthetical videos in TikTok to be the ad of your branded page, there's a high chance that page wouldn't go up in algorithm. But if you are a very big company like Ryanair, which is a serious company, and you are building very funny memes in TikTok about the airplanes doing some silly things, that would fly very well and that would bring you millions and millions of followers and a lot of engagement. This comes to show that you cannot force today your aesthetic and your strategy to a channel. You need to adapt to a channel. Your TikTok needs to be TikTok content. Your Facebook needs to be Facebook content. Probably you wouldn't post the TikTok content on LinkedIn videos because it's more like corporate and more serious. Although that might change, we never know. The trends go very fast. And so it's key for us as product people to go deep and to understand the audiences of each of these, which will probably mean you will spend a lot of time in social media, which is pretty useless time waste. But for a product manager, I think it is actually very useful time because you really understand your users. It's not your fellow person coming and saying, you know, on TikTok, this type of things work. And you're like, isn't TikTok the place where you do dances? No, TikTok isn't the place where you dances. It was in 2017 and it was called not TikTok, but Musical.ly. Then ByteDance acquired them and turned into TikTok. So the things are evolving pretty quickly. And if you want to understand the channel and connect to your audiences, you need to be in this platform, you need to be active, and you need to be pushing your product in these channels. Again, there will be a question, isn't the role of product manager like boxed into the areas and of responsibility of product manager, and then the marketer should do all the channel stuff? And the answer is no. That is changing. Especially in consumer market, the trends are moving so fast that as a product manager, you cannot afford to not do your marketing. Yes, you have marketing team and they help. They help you with the quantity, with the quality and everything. But you need to be there. You need to create at least one YouTube video yourself of your product. You need to look at the comments and see what people are thinking about it. Open a thread in Reddit and see how people are ranting about product and making you feel very bad. But that's the only way for you to really be in touch with your users and the customers in 2026. So let's ask ourselves a question. Let's say we want to build a consumer product. What product are we trying to build? For me, in general, the consumer products lie in two key categories. First is called boutique. It's a niche product that's targeting a specific use case, created for specific audiences, and therefore, these types of products are very design-led in their nature. They have this slick design, interaction design, the like haptic feedbacks, everything is polished to perfectness. And it really makes sense because you are trying to like optimize for a specific audience and specific use case. Therefore, you need to really build the perfect customer experience to be able to bring those users to your exact solution and not to competitors. So in some way, your branding is becoming more premium, maybe even unattainable for masses so that you can put a higher price tag. That's why I call this a boutique product. The problem is, if you are aiming in your financial calculations to target hundreds of millions of people, it is very hard to do it with a boutique product. You cannot choose just a single niche and a single use case and get hundreds of millions of users on that specific things. So this is where comes the second category, which I call platform. So if you are building a platform, you are building like this, not one vertical, but many verticals of different use cases and different audiences, all within a single place that seems coherent. You have seen the house of Mukesh Ambani in Mumbai, like this tall skyscraper that each floor is in a different shape. It looks like a child has built a Lego and like there is no consistency in the floors. So whenever you're building the platform, there is a high chance you might get something like that that doesn't feel easy to use, that's very complicated, every product area is different. So you cannot really afford to be fully design-led here. You need to be system-led. So what you need to do is you need to build systems on top of which you can build the products for each use case. So here the design is important. You need to have the design in mind, but you need to be system first in the thinking. And therefore, you need to understand that whenever you are adding a new functionality, a new vertical, it can come at the cost of the scalability and usability of the whole platform. So you need to ensure to keep that functionality as much as possible within the system and scale the system only in cases where you really see that would be good for the future, for other use cases, and that would benefit that given use case. Your brand will be, again, premium because we are all trying to build premium brands, but it will be attainable for the masses. And so for the product manager who is building a platform, it is a pretty challenging situation. You're trying to balance between the business opportunity, all these new fancy use cases with another 5 million of users of opportunity. You want to ensure that you stay a product manager and you are responsible for the customer satisfaction, so you don't build crappy products. Yet, on this third point, you are not just thinking about like feasibility when you think about engineering, but you think about platform scalability, which is much harder. If you're just like a product manager who needs to negotiate the best deal from the engineer to get it fast, that's easier than when you need to also brainstorm with the engineer to build a platform that would truly be scalable, yet not take 3 years to build. So I want to share a case study from my actual experience and the mistakes that I have done and learned upon when building a platform, with a case that started back in 2018. So I think most of you know Picsart more as a photo creation / editing platform. It is very photo specific. Even the name says Picsart. But in 2018, what we started to notice was there was this new media type that was becoming more and more popular called video. And we didn't have anything related to video in Picsart. But our vision stays at that time and now to be the creative platform for everyone. And so if more and more people are expressing their creativities through video and you don't have it, you are not an all-in-one platform, you are just a photo editor. So we set the objective to make Picsart not only the go-to product for image editing and creation, but also for video. And me and my small, modest team went to Hankavan, where our office rented a 2-story house. We stayed there for 2 weeks, and we coded the first version of the video editor and created it there. It was super fun. We were drinking in the nights and coding through the days. And it was one of those really crazy experiences. There was this big question when we started the project. Should we embed the video editor inside our existing photo editing product that is there? Or should we build a standalone video editor inside the same app and the same platform, but it's separate? That was the big question for us, and we really wanted to do the first option. But when we estimated the cost of integrating and turning a static build system into a video editor, so you can imagine the photo editor was built like 5 years ago, has been evolving all this time, had over 40 tools in it, and all of those tools needed to suddenly start working with the video capability. And the code base itself, the system was designed with having photo editing in mind, because you cannot blame the engineers who created a photo editor back in time who were asked to create a photo editor. So it all made sense that it wasn't really easy to modify it in a way to turn it also into a video editor, or we can call it a media editor. So we had an ETA of 6+ months. And then to build a standalone product, we had an ETA for 1 month for the MVP for like 5-6 the top tools. And I think there is nothing strange. Building something from scratch is super easy. Building on top of the thing is harder. So you can guess which option we went with. Thoughts? Yeah, we went with the second option because it's cheaper and PMs like when it's more affordable, faster, and cheaper. So we chose this option, we did build the video editor, we advanced it. It's actually a very, very good product. It has millions of users, but it doesn't have hundreds of millions of users. And the simple matter of fact is, the problem lies in, I can explain with this slide. So on the left, is this also left? Yes. Left side, you can see the photo editor. On the right side, you can see the video editor. I had the need to add this butterfly as a sticker on this image, and I can do it in photo editor. The moment I want to add an animated butterfly, which you don't see because this is a GIF and it's not playing, but it's an animated one here. I needed to close the photo editor, to go to Video tab, choose the same image, go to Video editor, go to stickers, and boom, I see Giphy stickers there, which are animated. You can understand not many people were doing the latter one because they weren't just finding, they were used to coming to Picsart, choosing their image and going to photo editor. So this was the thing we got wrong. We went after the affordability, but we didn't acknowledge the fact that users will not be changing their patterns to go and discover this new way and new product. Okay, you can say, that's not that hard. You could just put those animated stickers in your sticker chooser, and whenever user clicks on animated one, you could deep link to your other product so user doesn't need to discover that other product. Here comes the technical challenge. Turns out that the project file, like the, let's say, PSD file of Picsart, where we store all the information of the edited state, for photo editor, it was a photo editor project file that was thought to be a photo editor project file. But for video, we created a new one, a perfect, shiny video editor project file that's optimized for video editor. And the interoperability between these two was a mess. What if user clicks on the animated sticker, lands in the video editor, then they continue the editing, then they delete the animated sticker and they want to go back to the static editing? How would we even convert the video project back to a photo project? There was so much hassle with this back and forth, that we learned what was the problem. And the problem was we needed to invest into building the single platform solution. So we used that learning, we used it on the web. When the time came for us to not be on mobile only, but also have the same functionality on the web, I already knew that no matter what the technical team will say and no matter how fast I want it, we aren't building a standalone video editor. We are building it inside the photo editor, like Canva, like Adobe Express, like everyone. We are not reinventing the wheel. It was harder. It took us more time. It was very complicated to turn a static media editor into a dynamic animated and static editor that can do photo editing, design, video editing, presentation building, printing, animation building, motion design, and whatever use case will come up tomorrow. It was super hard. But the result is very good. You use single product. You don't need to think about like all these cases. You add an animated sticker, boom, you have a timeline. You remove the sticker, boom, you don't have a timeline. So it's super easy to use, and that's the most important thing for the users. So this was a good case of when I talk about system building, this is a case where you are doing system building. You are not just like building a single use case, you are building a complicated mechanism that needs to work somehow. And you can like do the parallel with the traffics, yes? So there is the layout in Abu Dhabi and then there's the layout in Yerevan. Yerevan layout was not optimized for 1 million cars. It was designed with like pedestrians in mind, and the Abu Dhabi one was optimized for the cars. So there's no wonder why we have so much traffic jams in Armenia and why they don't have yet. So every system needs to be designed having its future in mind to be scalable. And so for that, we had also to go and change this approach of photo project file and video project file. We needed to have single universal format to store information. We call it replay, and it's a media format. It's a media file format, so it can support photo editing, video editing, any type of creative creation. It's designed with having all of these use cases in mind. Let me talk about other types of systems that also help accelerate the work. And one of the things is design systems. We have designers here, so you'll be happy that I talk about design systems. And the thing with the design systems is PMs usually don't like design systems. They don't like design systems because design system is limiting my creative freedom to bring the perfect experience that I imagined. And as we talked before, you needed to answer the question, are you building a boutique or a platform? Because if you were building a boutique, maybe I wouldn't advise you to build a design system, or maybe I'll say that design system needs to be super lean and scalable. But if you chose to build a platform, then you need to find yourself in some limitations. And if you have talented design system team, which we have, then they will build something that will work and you will use it. The second question you would ask is, but what if I need to implement a new use case and feature that doesn't have the component in the design system? And that's one of the big misconceptions. Design system is not a rigid rule written on paper. It's a living, breathing system that needs to evolve. And it evolves through teams collaborating, a product team coming and saying, I need this new component, the design system team building that component and evolving the system. So you need to understand when you're starting to design something and your mindset is already biased towards building a new experience, that's not a good way of using your design system. But if you use that system and you find that it's super limiting, that yes, that's the time when you extend the system together with all the designers. And I can definitely say in this era of like AI coding, the design system is helping me so much to build things but stay on brand and not create whole new experiences. The second thing that is a system that helped us to scale the platform is called mini apps or apps. So the idea was very simple. Before we had all these tools in the editor, like 40 tools, and imagine they are all in the same code base. So whenever you add a new tool, you need to A, understand how do you connect with all the 39 other tools to make them work together, and B, what if your feature crashes? It crashes the whole system. They call it spaghetti code because your code becomes an intertwined, complicated system that no one can extend. You are getting slower and slower, and we were getting to those points. This is where we built this concept of mini apps. So you can imagine a mini app is like a feature or a tool inside Picsart, but it's in a black box. It interacts with the editor and other places through standardized API. So it knows what it can and what it can't do. And moreover, it will, if it crashes, it will not crash the whole system. It will only crash itself. It's like an app in your OS, in iOS. If the app crashes, the OS doesn't crash. So you can imagine the platform, it's an OS. Basically, if you are building a platform, you are building an operating system, but for specific like use case or direction. And so your OS doesn't need to crash if some part of it is crashing. And this gave us also another very important lean ability, which is each team that owns an app can have their own release cycle. You know, if you have that single code base, let's say I write some new code, what I have to do? I have to go to all the engineering managers and engineers of the other tools, ask them to review my code so that they accept that I didn't break the system, ask the regression testing team to do all the regression tests so I can check that the system isn't broken, and therefore I will not be able to release very quickly. I will be very slow. But with the mini app, you can release however many times you want because you are unable to break the system. It has the standardized API. It will not allow you to break the system through the API. And if you break your mini app, good, fix it. It's better for you to release every time, like every day, a week, and bring best functionality than to wait for 2 weeks to make it perfect. It's okay. You can fix it very quickly because it's a very small code base. It wouldn't take you very long to fix it. The next system that was very detrimental in building Picsart platform is over-the-air configurability. And this is especially important for the mobile apps. So you know how updating a mobile app works. You build the version, you submit it to Apple. The strength people at Apple are reviewing your version, and then they might reject the update and say you have breached some of the terms in their Apple terms and conditions, and so you aren't able to really publish new versions very quickly. So over-the-air configuration allows you to change the product over the air for each user. So every time the app opens, it gets the configuration for that specific segment, country, user type, etc., and it makes the product work in that way. And one of the greatest outcomes of this is A/B experimentation. If you want to A/B test something, if you made it configurable, you don't need to push new code to be able to test. So the product manager can do a lot of A/B tests, which is super important for a consumer product. There is usually like teams that are on optimization, and these teams don't really have the goal to build that one best new feature. They are there to do 1,000 experiments a quarter to optimize something, like a price, like a checkout screen, like a button color, but I don't think like you need to really A/B test a lot of button colors. But there are a lot of ways you can optimize your product and your revenue and your funnel conversion simply doing small experiments, and having the over-the-air configurability will allow you to run those experiments independently from the code releases and from the engineering. So I talked a lot about the cool stuff we built at Picsart to make it a platform and scalable, and now the question arises of how do we build a team that can build platforms? I know like you are product managers, maybe some of you don't have hiring function in your mind, but you can imagine you will need to have this kind of team assembled to be able to really build a good platform. And first and foremost, you need to hire product engineers who have strong technical track record. This is very important. Your engineers need to be strong. The reason being, there is usually two paths why PM wouldn't trust an engineer in their decision. First, they don't trust the engineers has enough technical knowledge to find the best solution. So it's questioning the knowledge actual, not like the willingness to get to the good solution, but the ability. The second is the engineer doesn't have the business acumen to be able to balance the time to market and the system scalability. And these two are very different problems. So the first one, the technical ability, is a must, because if you don't trust your engineer on ability of doing their own work, then you cannot build an environment where you are trusting each other. And if that doesn't appear, then however processes you set up, your team wouldn't be able to build platforms. Second, you need to hire product designers who are good at building and evolving design systems and systems in general. They have good design system thinking. And it is very important for us to acknowledge, not every designer is getting joy from building systems. Some designers love to build perfect crafted experiences. And I don't think that designer is anyhow worse than the designer who likes to build the system. They're just different. It is key for you to acknowledge that and to find a designer who gets joy from building a system, who acknowledges the value of keeping it in the system so that it's scalable, and who doesn't feel trapped in a mediocrity because they are working within a system and not building the next big thing. You can compare it to like Zara and a couturier fashion brand. So the fashion brand designer who is doing high-end fashion, they wouldn't build for the masses because that's not them themselves. And vice versa, if the person is working in the wide mass brand like Zara, it would be hard to expect from them to build something extraordinary. And these are two different people that don't need to really be on the other side because they get joy from whatever they are good at. So once we have these product designers and engineers, and hopefully the product manager is also good product manager, if we could define that, then we need to build a high trust relationship between the functions. How do you do that? You remember that PM is not a router. You are not a network device. People don't need to communicate through you to be able to communicate. They are very good professionals. They can communicate directly. In my team, my designer and engineers communicate directly, and they seldomly involve me even in those discussions. Because I know they can communicate, they can talk, they can brainstorm, they can disagree. I'm not the kindergarten babysitter who needs to judge every time there is something happening. And that's only possible if you build high trust relationship. So it's hard. It's very hard, especially if you're an Armenian. We are high trust society. We are, and I love it that we're high trust society. But we are low trust in professional sphere. We don't really trust that the other professional can do their job well because of reasons. But the truth is that you cannot build a team if you aren't committing to trusting your teammates. And how it works is you trust, they fail, you trust, they fail, and if they fail too many times, they need to go. That's how it needs to work. You need to trust them to do their abilities and for them to feel empowered. If they make it, it's a perfect team. If they don't, they don't. It's okay. And so once you build the trust within the team, you can let everyone take their decisions. And this is where the important thing comes. Everyone in the team needs to learn to take tactical decisions based on business acumen and based judgment. I love the word business acumen, and I have learned about it pretty late in my life because I don't think there is the word in Armenian for that. So the idea behind it is how well could you use best judgment and business thinking when taking decisions in your function that maybe isn't even related to business directly. And this is hard to learn, but it's not impossible. It basically says that if you are a designer, can you balance yourself, the polishness of the solution, the uniqueness of it, and the system scalability? If you are an engineer, can you balance the system scalability and time to market and the scopes? If you are PM, can you balance everything and get to the right sequence of things? It's hard, but it's the only way you can build a high trust team where everyone can take their own decisions. And there's actually a very good thing that our CEO has taught everyone in the company, and he's reiterating it every time. Ask for forgiveness, not for permission. That's a very important way of thinking when working. If you really want to go and ask for permission for doing everything, there's low chance you would do something amazing, because amazing things seem crazy. But if you have the courage to try it, and if you have the energy to learn from it, not just to try and fail and not learn anything, then it will probably lead you to a good place. And in the good place, you need to be ready to the next thing. Being socially awkward, because you are going to have tough disagreements. You need to be okay with the environment where debates will happen and tough disagreements will happen. Again, a problem in Armenia, in post-Soviet societies. We are very much used to mixing up our personal identity with our ideas and professional things that we suggest. So if anyone is pinpointing or criticizing an idea, we think they are criticizing us. How I love to think about it is if we two are debating, let's say we're debating about this. Let's put this on the table and let's debate about this. Let's not debate with each other. Let's think about that thing as out of our system, as out of that system. And that would help for us to still keep our relation, but to get to a better place. And you need to understand that if you have a team where everyone agrees, there's two ways. A, everyone are lazy to disagree, so they are just trying to not shake the boat. B, you build a homogeneous team of people who are of a same mindset, and if you analyze the successful companies, they are usually consisting of people with different mindsets. So you already maybe need to mix your team with other teams to get different point of views. You need to create an environment where failure is okay, and you have creative freedom to experiment. It's hard. No CEO wants really to see their teams failing. They want them to do exactly what they thought was the right thing. But with that way, your team doesn't learn to take their own decisions. Think about it like raising a child. If you don't let them to do mistakes, they will not never learn how to do it right, and they will also always come to you to ask for solutions. And the consumer base and the 100 millions of users are changing rapidly. So if you are a type of person that really feels discomfortable with quick changing realities, don't go and build consumer products. Consumers, they are not objective. They are subjective. They are wide mass of people with different mindsets, different realities and changes, different trends. So you need to adapt to these realities. And adaptability is a skill. And if you feel like adaptability is not yours, there are so many good spheres like healthcare, like government tech, that is very rigid, very disciplined, very regulated, slow moving, and they need professionals. So there is nothing bad if you decide to go there and work on that direction, not on a consumer product. If you decide to work on a consumer product, you need to be okay with the fact that your PM or your CEO will come tomorrow and say, we're changing the strategy because the world is not the same as it was before. And I can bring one example again, coming to AI. When I was building something with vibe coding 3 months ago, I spent like 60% of my time actually manually coding because it wasn't good enough to do the thing. It was doing like 40% work. I came back to doing it again with Cloud Code last week, and it was able to do it all. I didn't even open the code. I'm not saying it's a senior engineer, don't get it wrong, it's a junior engineer. But the system has evolved so quickly that now it's being able to like reiterate itself and fix the problems, which it wasn't doing before. And the time passed is like 2-3 months. So if I were to be of a rigid mentality of, I tried it once, it was end of 2025, it didn't work, so it doesn't work now, I would be in the same place. So in the consumer business, you need to relearn all the time, which brings us to growth mindset. It is important for the team to have growth mindset, and it's usually about us doing positively motivation on people who have the growth mindset. I think more strict. I think we need to penalize people who don't have the growth mindset in the team, because these people are really holding back everyone. And so you need to think about the mechanism. I'm not saying like inhuman mechanism, but good mechanisms of motivation where you actually pinpoint and highlight when someone is not showing a growth mindset, and you help them to fix that. And if they don't fix it, you don't have those people in the team. Finally, to be able to have a high trust team, you need to learn each other's job. An engineer wouldn't trust a product manager who doesn't understand what they are talking about and think it's all this technical stuff that they are trying to send back to give a 1 month plus estimation. That doesn't work. Same vice versa. The PM is like thinking maybe the engineer is not giving or telling something. The engineer is thinking PM is this high egocentric person who just has wishes but doesn't understand and doesn't have a touch with reality. And all of this comes from the point of not having knowledge. Today, in 2026, you really need to learn. You need to learn, if you're an engineer, how product works. If you are a product manager, you need to get some understanding of coding, at least to understand what your team is doing. That's your team. To be able to talk with each other, you need to understand the design. The designer needs to a little bit understand the engineering to be able to do better system thinking. All of you need to understand data, because if you don't understand what the hell outcomes your product that you're building, then how are you going to know whether you are building something useful or not? So this cross-functional knowledge is becoming the norm, I think, and there is nothing bad in learning the functions of different people in your team. I'm not saying you need to become the specialist of it. Maybe it's a hard path to go through, but at least having enough understanding to have a debate and a dialogue equally with your teammates and trustfully is important. So in order to implement these different areas, what we use at Picsart is the zone management. So how this works is you split the company and the teams into 2 zones, the transformation zone and the performance zone. So performance zone are the teams that work on the areas that are the top revenue bringers already. So this is the core business that works. And they're optimizing it with A/B test, with smaller targets, because if you even do that smaller target, the actual absolute value would be very large. The transformation zone are the people who are doing the rapid innovation to implement new verticals in the platform, new use cases, new targets, new markets. And these teams have aggressive growth targets, and they need to move very fast. Me and my team are on transformation zone. I really like innovation and moving fast, so we're working here. And these two teams are doing things very differently, yet they are both very successful in the goal. And so, again, we did segmentation, but now we did the people segmentation. And we put the people who like to move fast, break things, and innovate on the transformation zone, and the people who are more analytical, slower going, cautious, and like the numbers more in the performance zone. So the last question that arises, how do you know what's right for you? And the one thing that I recently suggest and I really like is this test called Clifton Strengths. How many of you have heard about Clifton Strengths? Okay, few people. This is a very interesting way of assessing your strengths, and it was designed by a behavioral scientist in MIT, if I'm not wrong. And the idea behind his thinking is he likes the concept of positive motivation. So instead of like blaming someone in what you are doing bad, he's saying focus on things you are really doing good. And you can imagine it as like a star. Imagine you are a star. You are all a star. So every like angle of the star is your biggest strength that you are strong at. And you go to your manager, and during the manager review, they say, these are the things you are weak at. So these are the in-betweens of your star edges. So you need to work on that to make it better. And you go and work on that to make it better, and you are pretty miserable because this is hard. Do you know what you turn into? You turn into a ball. No sharp edges. It's a mediocre state. So by going after your weaknesses and not focusing on your strengths, you are not really utilizing your powers. But if the other manager acknowledges that these are your strengths and tries to put you in a place where those strengths really work well, you get experience with that, and that turns into a real strength. So this is my example of the Clifton Strengths. It's actually 34 abilities, from 1st to 34th. And how it started was I asked Madeleine in our team, I was like, can you advise me a book? She's like, what are you trying to learn? And I was like, I'm terrible at discipline. I'm terrible. I want to go to gym and I'm unable to make myself to go at the gym. So she was like, you need to do the Clifton Strengths to learn about your strengths and focus on those. So I did Clifton Strengths, the 34 list from 1st, which is my strongest, to 34th, which is the bottom. What do you think was on the 34th? Discipline. And I was devastated that I was now scientifically proven to not have it. Yet I didn't focus on it that much now, and I even asked Gemini to give me ways to overcome that with my strengths. So now I'm going to go to gym with my friends because apparently I'm really good at socializing. So if my friend goes to the gym, I would go with them. And I focused on the things that I'm good at and try to even do more stuff on these points. I really advise you to do the test. It's not free. It's, I think, $20 or $50 for all the items. This is not an advertisement. I'm not being sponsored by Clifton team. I'm just thinking this is a very interesting way to learn about yourself and your strengths. And the good thing you can do once you have the report, you can give it to Gemini and start asking questions about yourself based on the strengths. It will give you very interesting advices about yourself and where you are good at and where not. And on this amazing note, I will finish my talk and we will go to the Q&A. Thanks, everyone.
We should go to Q&A. Any questions?
Hello. First of all, thank you very much for a very inspiring speech. That is wonderful to understand that you are not alone in some issues. I had, I think, more philosophical question. It's my karma to come to companies who need to transfer their product from version 1 to version 2 with all understanding of wrong architect, of some mistakes because they haven't overseen some new trends. And my philosophical question is, can we really oversee this? Like to predict that we should put something to architect to make it flexible enough, because sometimes we cannot predict, like I don't think that a lot of people predicted AI development of last years. So, or maybe you've got some tips according to this. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the question. This is a hard question. I think it depends on the sphere. So if you say the creative market, no one could guess 3 years ago that AI would be able to generate realistic videos. I don't think that would be like possible to oversee. But there are a lot of spheres that aren't that quick. So I think the practical advices I could give is, as a PM, don't rush too much your engineering at the solutionizing phase. This is one of the key mistakes that myself and many other product managers do. We don't value the time that engineers spend designing the solution compared to the time they spend developing the solution. It seems like the time they spend on writing the code is more effective and valuable than the time where they are doing this discussion that can seem like no-way road and debates. But actually, it's the word of you need to go slow to go fast. If you are able to spend a little bit more time on making sure strong engineers align on an option that really works, the chance of that option becoming obsolete quickly goes down. It doesn't go to zero, but it goes down. So it requires two things: good engineers or a good architect who can help them, and time for them to really think deep about it. Additionally, as a PM, you can give them the context of the industry so they understand what trends are happening in the world. Maybe they don't have the time or the interest of researching it themselves, but you have that context. So that can help some on the some level. But in general, being a PM that goes from 1 to 2 is always harder than being a PM that goes from 0 to 1. In product building, from 0 to 1 is easy. That's why most people create the outsourcing businesses and they just build the product, they sell it to customer, they don't support, and they go to the next. Building from 0 is easy. Maintaining and scaling is hard. As I told today, if you are really building something that will be scaled among the time, having system design in mind is going to be maybe even more important than many business features of the process.
Hello everyone. Thank you for speech. I have one question. When I saw the plans, monthly and yearly, and I want to ask about time-based trials that gives you like 14 days to try, and every time, in my sense, I'm just like skipping this product because it's like countdown that you need to try. And have you seen maybe any data that shows like it hurts our users, and any other way to make a trials but not like the countdown or something like that?
Yeah, so how we usually try to figure that out is we have some features that are simply free. So we try to keep the basic stuff that is already commodity in the market just free. It acts as a growth channel. You bring the user to the platform, they form the habit, they retain. And then we upsell those features that really have an intrinsic value under the subscription, or even maybe under credits if it's an AI feature and it's like usage-based. So what we have noticed is we have tried to remove the trial altogether, but it hurts the conversion dramatically because only in some niche cases, like let's say the product is specifically for ad creators and like more enterprise users. For those cases, yes, we can just skip the trial because the expense that these users are going to commit are large sums. So it's not like giving them 7 days for free is going to change their mind. It's better for them to give a demo or a like demo environment for them just to get understanding, and then just ask to do the payment to get the result. Other segments that are more consumer and they are more sensitive to the price, these users really don't like products that have just strict paywall. They want to try it. And what you will learn is most of them will go to the trial, try it, and cancel in place. But that's okay, because you need to think from this side. What was this user going to do to get the value from your product to retain? And if you can't find that, you can try to upsell that during the activation phase. If you don't find that, this is your expense. Those will be the users that would never pay, so you don't need really to think much about monetizing them. But yeah, the short answer is trying to remove the trial from a price-sensitive segment never works.
Oh, it's all. We have no time already, but thank you for this speech. It was very useful, and you attracted my attention, and keep it to the end.
Thanks, everyone.
And now I need your attention. Somebody lost his or her phone. Please, if you know who was it, let us know, and we will give it to you and him. Thank you. Let's have networking, chat, and have some snacks. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, everyone.